So, my name is Rebecca Jennings. I'm Principal Client Advisor here at Global Reviews, and it's my role this morning to tell you some of the latest research that we've been doing on casino gambling or casino gaming in the UK. We run these programs I'm going to talk to you about across a wide variety of industries in the UK, Europe and Australia. And so particularly today we're going to talk about casino gaming. We also do betting in the UK. But today, we're going to talk about casino gaming, some research we've recently completed, and it's not part of an ongoing program of research that will go on through 2017. So very quickly, who are we in terms of Global Reviews? Some of you may well know us well, some may not have anything come across us at all so far. Global Reviews are a company that we've been around about 18 years now, operating across, say, UK, Europe and Australia. We very much specialise in helping you understand why your customers make the decisions they do at all points in the journey, from thinking about they want your product, and as I say, we're going to be talking about casino gaming today. We also look at betting, but also we look at a wide variety of other industries: financial services, insurance, energy, banking, retail. So we have a good understanding of the pains that consumers come across the journey, across a number of industries, why they do the research they do, where they do it, how they do it, how they make decisions in terms of finding brands, shortlisting brands, deciding on brands, and then the experience they have on your own website, and where are the key pains that make them leave the journey. What are the leaks in your funnel? Essentially, why do you lose consumers in that journey? So that's us as a company. The research we're going to talk about today, as I say, looks specifically at the discover, consider and act phases of the journey that I was just talking about. We also do a lot of research within the relate phase, which is the post-customer sign-up phase, so onboarding, member services, native app, etc. But what we're going to talk about today is the sort of customer acquisition, conversion optimization program called Fruition. Will be running from now through 2017. So this very much looks at that discover, consider and act phase of the journey. How do they find brands in your market? Why do they consider particular brands, and why would they not consider you? And then finally, on your website, what kind of experience do they have there? Why are they doing what they're doing at each point? And why are you losing customers at each point of the customer journey? And that's really the key point of Fruition, is to figure out your lost opportunity. At each point in the journey, when people come across a problem or a break point or an issue, what would they do? Why would they leave? Where would they go? How can you plug in those gaps? How can you identify why you're losing customers, and what can you do about it? And I say that's very much what Fruition as a program attempts to do. So Fruition will discover consumers in their own environment. So we recruit in-market consumers in their own homes, on their own technology, so desktops, laptops or mobile phones. We downloaded laptops to their technology so we can see exactly what they're doing and when they're doing it. So we can track everything they do. They explore their options, they go out, they do their research. We then, I beg your pardon, we then look at the journey that they've had and say, well, where did they go? Why did they go to these particular sites? What kind of decisions did they make at each point? And do they start to build what you'd call a shortlist? So a shortlist of brands, 8 to 9 brands who might make their shortlist for actual final application. And why did you make those shortlists, and why didn't you make that shortlist? Then we get to the consider phase, which is, well, why at this point would you actually choose this brand, and why would you finally prefer a brand? And they say, why did they not choose you at each point? Then we move on to the, say what you might call the more consider and act phase, which is actually on the sites themselves. So we then have consumers taken to a site that they are not currently a member of, so there's no sort of learned experience, and they are asked to do a number of tasks on that site. So finding games, locating games, matching specific needs, be that a jackpot or a type of game they want to play. And we ask them to do those tasks. We measure their propensity to abandon the site after each task. So what were the problems? What would you have done if they had a problem in doing that task? Would they look for help? Would they look for FAQ? Would they leave? And if they left, what would they do then? Would they go to somebody else's site? So you can start to figure out where the real leakages in the journey are. This is all supplemented and complemented by a best practice features and function audit that we internally conduct here at Global Reviews. It has around 400 criteria. These are yes/no questions across the journey. So we've got the insight from not only the consumers doing what they want to do, and we're understanding why they're doing it, where they're going, where they're leaving at each point, but it's also got this 400 criteria best practice review that we are conducting internally. So you've got both the best practice expert view and the consumer view. So the moving parts you get out of that, which obviously are the output of the research, and what we're going to look at some of this today, is obviously the best practice features and functions review of each stage of each site within the study. And this is a benchmark study, so you'll see as we go through, we look at a variety of sites. It's not just one, it's not just our clients. We look at 10 or 12 sites in each industry normally. Click streams and heat maps are provided and measured as a passive recording of what consumers are doing when they're doing this research. We can see exactly where they go, what they do, where they break, what are the issues. We can see their success rates, task completion, number of clicks it took them to do things, and also the consumers audit specific pages in the journey, so provide a benchmark across the competitors. As I say, then there's also, to say, at each stage of this journey, there's the audit and there's what consumers do. So at each stage across coming to the website, finding things, getting first impressions, going through what games you've got, how do I register, how do I deposit, all the way through the journey, there's both what the consumers are doing and saying and what the best practice audit is doing and saying. And what also, as you'll see as we go through, the benefit of us having that experience across all the different industries is that your best practice may not be in your industry. Your registration best practice may be a current account provider, health may be a energy company. So it may well be actually that the best practice in your industry isn't necessarily where you want to be. You want to be best practice as a whole. So let's have a look at what other people in different other industries are doing that obviously consumers are getting used to, because there's obviously consumers aren't just doing one type of interaction. They are buying books on Amazon, they are changing their energy provision. So if they can see that somebody else can do something, the obvious assumption is that you can do it too. They don't understand the differences, but the idea is that obviously this is what the industry, the websites are capable of. Therefore, if you can do this registration or this FAQ or this live chat, everybody can do it. So that's really your challenge. You're not just up against your competitors, you're up against everybody on the internet. So what I'm going to talk to you about this morning is the most recent research we've conducted within this for casino gaming in the UK. So we've looked at why people find brands in the market, how they research, who they go with, who they choose, the preference, but then we've actually done the audit across the websites as well in terms of the whole journey that consumers are getting and what are the breakpoints. So you've got the whole end-to-end journey going on here. So what did we learn at a top line about those looking for a casino game to play in the UK? The vast majority of them began their journey to find a brand on a search engine. In a lot of cases we do this as default behavior, but also consumers believe they're going to find the best offers and deals there still. They still think that that's a good way to see what people have got to offer as offers and promotions. So first thing is obviously very, very important to make sure that the taglines on your SEO and your PPC are giving them that information, but also when users click on that result, they're going to the right page in your website that tells them this is the offer, this is how to get it. They're really important. 56% moved directly from a search engine to a brand website. Makes sense. Obviously also what we've got in here is an element of research and comparison. There are sites that will help you compare things like odds, jackpots, etc. So they do sometimes do that as well, but directly go to a brand website at 56%. 75% have an initial preference before they start. So when we go to them and say, please, I need you to go and do some research, please go and do some research. 75% say they have a initial preference. So that means they either, in most cases, it's because they have used the brand before. If you don't have a preference, then most of the time it's about, I would go with the one with the better offer. So as you see, just as I said, with the search engines, people do use search engines to obviously to find brands, but a lot of the time it is about finding the offer, and that is about swaying this 25% who don't have a preference. They just simply want to go for the best offer. So you've got a situation where a lot of people have a brand in their head, but actually when you come to go through the journey, quite a lot of them are prepared to have that mind changed, which is interesting. Trust is obviously absolutely vital in this market. We ask consumers why they would make the final choice they would make if they were doing this in real life, and actually trust is the most important thing that comes out. They have to trust the brand. But again, as you see as we go through, and I'll show you why they chose some of the brands that they chose, there are other things that are really important as well. That level of trust has to be there, but for a lot of brands, there are a lot of other ways of persuading consumers that they are the one to go with once you've got over that. And there are some brands that rely perhaps too heavily, shall we say, on that trust, and it doesn't necessarily translate into a usable website and games that can be played or understood. So, as I say, 91% begin their journey on a search engine. So where do they go as a result of that? 21% go directly to Ladbrokes, 24% go to Sky Vegas, 29% go to William Hill Casino, and 32% actually go to Paddy Power. Now this is interesting when you look at a snapshot of the results that they're actually getting when they do this search. Obviously, results will change depending on time of day, on your previous history, where you are. So there's an awful lot of complexity about the type of results you get when you do this search. But it is something we look at when we're going through the fruition journey, is the kind of experience they get on search, but also within aggregators as well. So aggregators, very powerful market within some markets. So we do look at this kind of journey when they start doing this search. And I just think it's interesting, if you look at the list of search results here, you've got the top, Paddy Power, obviously an ad, but very much at the top there, right in the user's eye line as soon as they do this research. And at the bottom also you've got the organic casino advert. So top and bottom of this page you've got Paddy Power right in there, gaining people's attention. You've obviously got other markets as well. You've got a couple of ads, Betfair, Betctor. You've got Sky Vegas under the definition as well. But you've very much got Paddy Power up there on two prime places in these results. So something at the moment, casino, Paddy Power doing quite well in terms of attracting consumers through the search journey to come to their website with placement on the search, but also you think about the messages. Quick cash out, that's really important. When we talk to consumers and say, well, actually, what are the most important things, features and functions that the site could have, easy withdrawal is the top one. And when we talk to consumers about what sites could do better, that is one of the key features. One of the key things that they think sites could improve on is making withdrawal easier and quicker. Obviously, that is part of the security and the trust of the site, but it's also about the navigation. It's also about making sure, even when they register, you make it clear that cashing out, withdrawal will be easy and quick as soon as they've won, because obviously they think they're going to win. That's the point. They wouldn't do this if they didn't. So the idea of saying, okay, when you win, it'll be really quick and easy to do this. It's one click. We can take it straight back to the funding method you used originally. So those kind of messages really resonating with the audience. at this point, I mean, we've got to remember we're early in the journey at the moment. People are just thinking, well, who looks interesting? Who do I trust? So overall, once I've done all this research, it is interesting to then see how or why people make the choices they make and how those have changed. So I said at the beginning, preferences do change. Those 4 brands we've just seen who gather the most clicks from the search actually end up taking just over half of final preferences. You've got, say, Sky and Ladbrokes together, and then William Hill and Paddy Power all together taking, say, just over half of the whole choice here in terms of final preference. Who would you, at the end, choose to play a game with? 15% said Sky Vegas, 14% said Ladbrokes. It's quite fragmented after that Paddy Power. You get 888, Betfair, Bet365, and then a whole range of others through making up that 17. So there is a fragmented market after that top 4. But those top 4 gather a significant amount of final preferences. But what's interesting is what's got them there. If we look at this, I said earlier we had around 75% initial preference, but people did change their minds. And you can see some of that coming out here. So, particularly for Sky Vegas, initial preference of 10%. So 10% of our consumers at the beginning of the journey said, yeah, I would go with Sky Vegas to play this game to start with. By the end, as you just saw, that's 15%. So they've had a 5 percentage points or 50% overall increase in preference at this point. Ladbrokes have had a 2% increase, and when we've seen Paddy Power and William Hill actually in the end had a drop. So immediately you can start to see where there might be some of these leakages in that funnel, because you've got Paddy Power doing pretty well in terms of search, getting people to go to the site, or getting people excited about what they've got, but then actually overall dropping back in terms of preference. And William Hill, as you see, similarly dropping back. So it is possible to change people's minds, is the first thing to say. And also it is possible, as I say, to just have leakages right from the beginning of that funnel. So what's going on in terms of why are people making the decisions they're making? Why are they choosing Sky Vegas, Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, and William Hill? So we obviously ask the consumers here, why did you pick the brand you picked? Unsurprisingly, trust is usually is always the top 1 or top 2 reason. We saw that right at the beginning. The key driver of why you would pick a brand is that you trust it. Ultimately, though, again, when we talk to consumers about the various attributes of different brands, pretty much consumers trust all of the brands, but mostly. I mean, there are obviously some they're less and less aware of, but actually, largely, there's quite a lot of trust for the bigger brands in the market, both in casino and in betting. So, to a certain degree, that's kind of a given. There are obviously important things you can do on the site to build that and reinforce it, and to make sure you don't lose it. There are a lot of elements of this in terms of getting benefits and being an established offline brand as well. It's something Ladbrokes obviously benefit quite significantly from. But fundamentally, most consumers trust most of the brands in this market, certainly the bigger brands. There's obviously an element of previous experience that comes in here as well. But then you start to be really interesting. Then it starts to say, well, actually, the website is having a really big effect here in terms of first impressions. You've got to remember we're sort of early in the consider phase here. These consumers have not spent days, weeks, ages, hours on each of these websites going through every single element. They're new to the brands. They've basically gone to the homepage, gone to a couple of casino games and gone, yeah, actually that looks interesting. This looks like something that suits my needs. It looks like a brand I could deal with. It looks like games that look fun and I'd like to enjoy playing. And that's coming through here with all of these. So 43% said for Sky Vegas, their website was visually appealing. There's a big driver at this point in their selecting the brand as the next brand they'd play with. Options, plenty of options, finding options quickly. Again, that's one of the key drivers at this point. again, consumers are not spending a lot of time on these sites at the moment. They're having a quick look round, but they've come away with the impression that there's lots of stuff to do. It looks like lots of fun. Say particularly with Sky, gaming options are easy to understand. So at this point, it's very much about getting consumers in, drawing them in with an attractive homepage, landing pages from the SEO. Does it match the message? Is it visually appealing? Does it look as if there's lots of interesting games to play here? And that I'll be able to figure out how to do it. Particularly if you're new to the industry, do I know how to play this game? Do I know how to play roulette? Am I going to end up spending my £10 deposit just figuring out the rules of the game? So very interesting here in terms of the basics of the trust, and I've used them before. They're absolutely important, and as I say, the website really has to build on those. But it's also about this visual appeal, drawing people in. Will I be easy to play with? Will I be easy to join? Because they haven't actually joined yet. We go through that ACT phase later. But does it give you the right impressions at this point? Because if you remember, to say a couple of slides ago, we showed you the change in preference at this point of, say, fairly early in the decision tree. I've spent a little bit of time on these sites, and I think Sky Vegas looks most appealing. Ladbrokes has increased its preference as well. What's really interesting is if you then look at some of the data from the audit. If you remember from 20 minutes ago, I showed you the fruition slide at the beginning, and fruition was very much showing you that you've got the consumers and their tasks and what they're doing, what we've asked them to go and do the research, which is where the research, the slides have shown you so far have come from. Then we move into actually looking at the websites and obviously consumers doing tasks on the sites, but also this audit. So what you've got here is some data that comes out a bit more of that audit, saying, well, actually, there are some elements of the site that really encourage you customers to join, also to meet expectations and build trust. We were just talking about that, about how the website can do that too. But very much some elements when they first go to the website about encouraging consumers to join. And as you can see, Ladbrokes and Sky Vegas get the highest score on that encourages customers to join element, and they're the ones that have got the increased preference here. So what do we actually mean by encourage customers to join? Well, what we're looking at is a variety of things on the really the home page, the landing pages. Again, we're looking at consumers who are doing some research, looking at each site, first impressions. Does the site encourage me as a consumer to join? So things like promotions clearly in the top menu, help and support there as well. That's really important. Even though consumers at this point probably don't need any help because they haven't really started doing anything yet, it's really important that they know it would be easy and quick to find should they need it, particularly for this kind of interaction where you have short-term interactions in terms of requiring help very quickly. If I'm depositing, if I'm trying to take my money out, if I'm playing a game, I don't have overnight to worry about it. It's not a lost product. It's not a return to a shop. It's something I want to do now, and if I don't do it now, I'm going to leave and do it somewhere else. So it's really important that integrated help and support is there where consumers need it, and they can see that. The promotions are very clearly there in the main hero image in the middle. It's very clear what consumers need to do to get that bonus. So there is information about how much you would deposit to get the £40, but also come and try our games on the house. So encouragement to join up, come and play, come and figure out what you're doing without actually having to deposit. Clear details how to do it. It's very, very well signposted. And then when you actually take one more click into that details page, so you've decided as a consumer, this is really interesting, I want to figure out what it actually means, what do I have to do? The detail page clearly lays out what you have to do. The £10 welcome bonus, completely free, credited to your account immediately after registration. So again, little things, it's just saying you won't have to wait a week to do this. Immediately after registration, you can go and play. Great encouragement to join up now. You will tell you what you need to do to opt into the promotion, and then what you would need to get the deposit bonus. So if you deposit another £10, you'll get a £40. So making it very clear what you've got and how you'll get it. What's also interesting here is we've got why join Sky Vegas. It isn't just this is the deposit, or this is the bonus, this is how you do it. There's a little bit of, well, now we've told you about the bonus. We know implicitly you're probably getting bonuses from other people, so why would you join us? What games are included or are excluded, valid for 30 days. So again, making it very clear what it is you're supposed to do. Online support is linked here as well. As I was just saying, it's really important, even though consumers at the minute might be saying, well, actually, I don't have any questions. But it's very important that they understand that help and support is easy to access if they need it. So it's right there, again, within the details page. So encouraging users to join with clear details of how to join, help, promotions, clear homepage in terms of that sort of encouragement. On the flip side, when you look at some of the other information that you see on other websites, on other journeys, you will see also how a lot of the websites get very cluttered. That is actually the main feedback we have from a lot of consumers when they come to the landing pages of casino sites, is they're cluttered. And actually Sky Vegas gets the best score on that as well. So it's very much at this point thinking about the first impressions and thinking about encouragement quickly to get consumers in to think, yep, I could do this, this looks really interesting, quick and easy. And we saw options there as well when we saw why do people choose the brand they choose. We saw Sky doing well in terms of finding of the options that they were offering to consumers. And actually that happens within the audit as well. What we've got here is an absolutely classic piece of the Fruition research, which is a combination of both the users being asked to do a task now on the specific websites and the audit. So we've moved through what you might call the discover phase, or what we call the discover phase, so the open screen, go and find a brand, go to search and go look at the home pages quickly, make a first impression, who would you go with? So we've seen that. Then we move on to the audit and the benchmark, which is where consumers are, as I said at the beginning, directed to a particular brand that they are not a member of and asked to do some specific tasks, again, which is combined with the best practice audit. And as I say, it's really interesting to do the journey end to end, because you start to see how that first impressions and those elements of why would I choose a brand come through within the site itself. So we saw Sky Vegas getting a good push from options at the beginning a minute ago, and now that comes through within the audit as well, in terms of they still score the best in helping users to find options. So again, you're fairly early in the journey here. People have come to the website, they've had a little look, they're now exploring the site a little further. What have you got? So we ask consumers to go find the page on the website which shows them all available slots games they can play. We ask them to go and find how many games of roulette that are running. So we ask them essentially sort of dig around the site a bit and see what they can do in terms of understanding what the site has got, what they can play, how they can play it. And Sky, again, tops the audit here, again, showing why perhaps they were increasing their consideration, their final preference at the discover stage. So some of the things that come through here from consumers and from the audit, you've clearly got at the top quick links to key categories, so slots, jackpots, roulette, blackjack, table games, instant win, so types of game. Jackpots are promoted, so there is encouragement to go on and find games that have big jackpots, encouragement to play. That is something that not all brands do in terms of telling people what could you actually win. And again, important for perhaps new gamers who really don't understand what it is that they could win here, and they could get attracted by that possibilities. There's also multiple routes to find games. So you've got those categories at the top, but you've also got games in alphabetical order. You can look at all games, you can look at the live games. So there's multiple routes to try and find something you would be interested to play, as well as promotions. We saw a moment ago, promotions very good in terms of encouraging consumers to join, but also good in getting consumers around the website to get them to go to different places. So Sky here doing a pretty good job in terms of drawing users in, but then helping them find what they want to play with. On the flip side, one of the lowest scores we get here is actually from William Hill. Again, big brand, but awful lot of comments here about cluttered. People really struggled to navigate this. There's lots of different options all over the site in terms of where would I go. Things are not labeled what they might be labeled. So you've got here games at the top, but you've also got down the left-hand side a list of games as well, but they don't exactly match. Online roulette, is that a table game? Is it not? Why is it online roulette as opposed to roulette? Do they mean live roulette? They don't. But there's a slight question because there's live casino as well. Our consumers actually were really struggling with this different terminology across the different menus and the unclear terminology. So again, we had a lot of comments about just couldn't find it. It's entirely possible to find. Obviously, when we determine the tasks for the study, we make sure consumers can do them. We go to each website, we do the tasks ourselves, we make sure they're entirely achievable. We are not weighting the dice, if you like, against different brands in terms of getting people to do things they couldn't do. So it's entirely possible, but consumers struggled with this at all. They weren't confident, they couldn't find the type, they found the types, not the number. It doesn't take you to a page of games, you have to reach each individual roulette game individually. So it took a lot longer to find the answer, and as I say, a fairly high proportion didn't even find the answer at all. So consumers really struggling here to, after they've even gone through the home page, to actually get a quick impression of whether there'd be something that they wanted to play, and that's really important. So certainly at the stage we are now, which is just coming, say, through the discover phase. Why would you choose these brands? Looking at the first impressions, thinking about, can I quickly understand you've got something that might suit my needs? So I think what we've seen so far, obviously, is consumers going through that research journey, Sky doing well in terms of increasing their final preference from those first steps into the website, the home pages, the landing pages, can I have a quick idea of what it is you've got? But what is important to remember is that's not the whole story. That's not the entire relationship and entire experience consumers have on your site. And that's very much where the rest of the consider and act part of fruition come in. We have this benchmark, as I say, where consumers go to one specific site, do these tasks, give us some feedback, rate particular features and functions, and we combine that with the audit. And that is done, as I say, as a benchmark across a number of brands in the industry, and it's done through the journey. So the pieces we've done so far, the consider, the landing pages, finding things, but it goes a step further. It goes through, okay, well, I've decided to register with you. Where do I register? How do I do it? How long does it take? Is it safe? Is it secure? And then we go through the registration process. And we ask people to log into an account that we've already set up. So they do the login process as well. So the actual audit itself goes all the way through from the landing to the home page to the final process of registration. So that itself gives us a score for that journey across each of the brands in the benchmark. So it's taking that next step of the entire journey and not just looking at those first perhaps steps that we've been looking at so far. So we're taking another step into the consider and then into the act phase here. So when you look at the entire journey from, say, landing pages, home pages through to the end of registration, we get a score across each of the brands in the top brands so far in the study. And you actually start to see a little bit of a shift. So you now see here the highest score is 61%, and that's Paddy Power. This is a reasonably high scoring industry. We have other industries that score significantly lower than this. There is generally a slightly higher score in casino and indeed betting for registration forms and a little bit of help and support, but registration forms tend to do okay. So as an industry, it scores a little bit higher than average. But the scores themselves, as you can see, aren't particularly high. We would normally say a score of about 65% was where you wanted to be to say actually this is an okay journey. So everybody here is making, is not making that. We've got a fairly close bunch of competitors here again. Certainly the top 5 or 6, not much in it. It really wouldn't take very long for a brand to increase their score to overtake Paddy Power. The studies are normally run on a 6-monthly basis. They can be run more frequently, but we normally run them on a 6-monthly basis because that is a decent amount of time for people to have made change to the website to start actually making incremental increases and improvements that will see this score increase. So 61%, so say, for Paddy Power. But the thing I always say about the score is actually the score itself isn't that interesting. The score is okay. The score is kind of, okay, let's see what it is against the competitors. We can track it over time. What's more interesting, obviously, goes into to make up that score and the levers you can really start to pull to increase it. And obviously, whether the scores are reflected in the industry or whether you particularly have a particular pain, a certain element that nobody else in the industry seems to have. So as you can see from this, which summarizes the score of each of those steps across the journey, if you like, you can see there really are some ups and downs for brands in this industry. It's not the case that everybody does poorly in one bit. Usually there are really some ups and downs here. Evaluating options particularly, and this is where we've just seen Sky. Sky doing very well in terms of what have you got, can I find it, does it look interesting, can I figure out and also do pretty poorly in terms of registration. So they do persuade users to a certain degree to pick them. Their initial impressions of Discover and the Consider FAs are very effective. What happens here then is actually they are starting to lose consumers in that, well, actually I've decided to register, oh, it's quite complicated, it's quite difficult, is it safe, is it secure, can I find help? So that is the break point for Sky. On the flip side, what you might see for, say, for a brand more like Paddy Power, which we've just seen, perhaps not doing or very middling so much perhaps in the options area, but actually doing better in terms of channel selection. Why am I doing this online? Why is it safe? Why is it secure? But particularly registration. They do have the highest score in the industry for registration. So different brands exceeding at different elements of this journey, and which obviously has an overall effect on the score, but also leads us to identifying different elements along the journey where they are losing consumers. At each task, we're asking consumers, well, what went right? Why did you score the score you gave it? What were the problems? Why didn't you manage to find that roulette page? Why didn't you manage to find the slots game we asked you to find? And what would you do now? Would you leave? Would you continue going around the site trying to find an answer? Would you look for help, an FAQ or live chat? Or would you just carry on because you love the brand anyway? So we're truly trying to understand what are those leak points in the funnel. And this starts to show you how those might differ across the different brands. It's not an industry pain, usually. There are a lot of individual website pains. Say, actually, I couldn't find that roulette piece. There was no FAQ. I'm going to leave. Or I could find it. There was a little bit of help here on how to play the game. Great, I'm going to carry on. So what we're seeing here, as I say, channel selection is a low point for the industry. And again, the industry is not unusual in this. Not many of the industries we talk to or we evaluate do particularly well around channel selection. And what is that all about? That is about, why am I doing this online? Is it safe and secure? I'm going to give you some money out of my bank account, out of my credit card. I need to know if it's both safe, secure, and private. So two sides to this. There is it's safe to give you my credit card number. You're not going to get hacked. I'm not going to get thousands of pounds taken off my credit card, my bank account. But also, you are not about to sell my details to anybody. I'm not about to get 100 spam emails from a lot of different casino or retail or whatever brands trying to sell me stuff. So is it safe? Can I give you my money? Is it private? You're not going to sell this to anybody. I'm just going to get relevant emails from you, and if I don't want them, I can turn them off. So really important to secure safety and security and privacy. Are the other channels promoters? Do you have mobile channels? Do you have an app? Why would I use those? What's good about those? What's the benefit of those over this, or what's the benefit of the website over those? And also this whole idea of what if I have questions? Contextual help, FAQ, live chat. This kind of relevant support needs to be throughout the journey. Consumers need to try to find help about what they are doing at that point throughout the journey. Ideally, they don't want to go off into a long list of help and FAQ where they're left to figure out what the problem is themselves. What they want is contextual help at the key point they're having the problem. So I don't understand the rules of the game. I don't understand why you're asking for this information in the registration form. I've got a particularly odd type of credit card. Can I use it? Can you answer those questions at the point people have the question? Those are the points people will most likely to leave. They will say, actually, it's too hard to find this out. I'm going. And I'm going to a competitor. I'm going somewhere else to do this. So got to plug those gaps in the funnel. And at the moment, so the industry doesn't tend to do it particularly well. Paddy Power do a little bit of encouragement with explaining the games. I just said one of the points at which people stop is, well, actually, I don't understand how to play this. I'm about to spend a lot of money on a game I don't understand how to play, and I'm just going to lose all my money immediately, aren't I? So one of the things they do, again, to encourage people to actually register and play once you get into the site and start having a dig around, is that they will explain what the game is doing, explain what it's about. They will tell you how much you can win, tell you what the odds are, but also allow practice play. So you can have a few spins of the roulette wheel to have a go to understand what it is that's actually going on, how would you win, what are the odds. So encouraging people to actually come on and deposit money because they already understand how to play at this point, and they're not worried about spending half of their initial stake just figuring out how to play a new game. This might not be something you wanted to do on every game on the site. It might be something that's more interesting and more relevant on new games, something you've invented that's slightly different, or perhaps one game of each type to show, okay, this is how to play roulette, this is how to play poker, or this is how to play this particular slots game. So there's obviously ways and means, and you need to weigh up the experience of your consumers and the experience of the consumers you're trying to gain. But again, as we saw earlier, or as we talked about earlier, one of the key things that consumers are concerned about when they register, we've found from other research, is not understanding the game and wasting their money because they don't understand the game. So very important to encourage users to play, help them make that decision, but with that help and support and FAQ around how to play. So this is all wrapped up in that what if I have a question, what if I need support. So it's an example of essentially what is contextual help, contextual FAQ, built into the journey. It's not, I don't have to come out of this journey to say, okay, how do I play roulette? It's integral in with finding the brands and finding the game. It's not somewhere else that I'm never going to find it. So this channel selection, how do I choose, why am I doing this, do I understand what I'm doing? So as an industry that doesn't tend to do it very well, little bits like this, say Paddy Power, encouraging play and allowing practice pay. As I said at the beginning, it's quite often other industries sometimes that have the best practice for some elements of this. So TSB, for example, actually do a pretty good job in terms of supporting users with contextual help when they are making specific decisions. So this is from TSB's current account pages. So you've got consumers signing up to a current account online. At the bottom of the pages, you've got benefits of having this account. Why would you do it? You've got popular contextual questions about that journey. So how do I switch, for example? You've got other products that might be interesting. You've got safety and security information, and you've got why contactless cards are safe. So a lot of people's upfront concerns about current accounts and TSB and how would I do it and the process being addressed on page within that journey. So again, consumers are not being drawn out of their journey to answer their questions. They don't have to go to another site. There's no pop-ups. It's within the journey they're making. It's easy to scan. It's not the most beautiful laid out, I have to say. I would say the audit is not about design. The audit is not about, is it pretty? Do we like the colours? It is about things like, is the information there? Are the calls to action clear? So it's not just about, say, is it pretty? Does it look good? It is about, does the design meet the needs of the consumers in terms of, say, calling out calls to action, calling out important pieces of information that they need to see. And as I say, what you'll often find is actually some of the financial services industries is pretty good at this, certainly security, and why choose us? Again, a very competitive market, much like the casino and betting market. And then, so the last example here we saw from that sort of roller coaster slide I showed it a minute ago in terms of scores. Paddy Power topping the scores for registration. Overall, they topped the score for the audit, the benchmark audit. And a lot of that is because they do really well in terms of support and this registration process. So this support does have links to contextual help within it. Specifically, I say about registration and login. So it isn't just taking you to a generic FAQ or to generic help center where you've got to go and find the answer. It's straight into those top questions that you would probably be having at this point. There are clear contact details and links to other channels, so chat, live help, email. There are average response times for each of those channels, so you can make a call as to whether you've got 21 seconds, you prefer to pick up the phone, you're happy with doing live help, or it's something that can wait, emails wait for a couple of hours. And within the form itself, it offers helpful, chatty help within boxes. So as you tab out, it just doesn't say error or information missing. So many registration forms these days simply still say box empty or error or that's not right, whereas actually this is saying everyone needs a first name. It needs to be at least 2 characters. And as you step further down the form, again, you've got information about why you need the email, chatty, but not just chatty for the sake of chatty. It's chatty and helpful. Why is this information needed? Give users information as to why and help them fill in that form. So the registration form actually does particularly well. So what you've seen, I guess, again, back to the roller coaster analogy, we've seen a fruition program that takes consumers from let's do some initial research, let's go online, where am I going, what am I searching for, where am I going as a result of that search, let's have a quick look at the website, let's make a preliminary sort of short list, and then let's make a choice. Who would I go with, I think, at this point, having looked at the sort of start of the consider phase. And then backing that up, there's the consumer journey and the audit and the benchmark that really drill into each of the sites and say, well, actually, how does each of the sites deliver all the way through from that end of the consider phase through to the final act and actually playing the games? What do consumers experience across that journey? Where are the breakpoints? Where are the leaks in the funnel? Where are your lost opportunities that we can help you understand why consumers are leaving your site and going somewhere else? And what can you do about it? Because obviously what you need to know, what you need to understand are the actionable insights. Giving you scores, giving you pain points, that's interesting, but what's actually really valuable here is understanding what you can do about it, which is where the best practice and the examples come in. So how can you plug a leaky funnel? How can you reduce your lost opportunity? So some of the things that come out of here, there's a tremendous amount of data in here, as might be obvious, across that journey. You've got about 200 consumers across the journey. You've got 400 audit criteria across every single brand that we look at, and that's without the first phase of the consumers and the discover search phase. So there's hundreds and hundreds of data points in here, and obviously I've only been able to give you a flavour here of what we can, what we have for brands in this market. But some of the things that immediately come out, even when you're first looking at this, it is about encouraging join up, but it's not just about the money. I chaired a conference just recently where everybody was saying, well, we'd really like to stop giving away money, but it's a sort of vicious circle. If somebody does it, everybody else has to do it. So it's really about thinking, okay, that is there and that is the offer and everybody is doing it, but what you need to do is take that next step. Why you? How easy is it to sign up and get that bonus? And ideally enable some free play. Go and play a game. So I'm not going to spend all that money immediately. We saw some of that around Sky, but also some around what Paddy Power were doing further in the site. And the multiple navigation routes to get players to games quickly and easily. Different people want to play different games for different reasons. You need to get them to what they want to play quickly, but also you need to help people find new games. So let them navigate by type of game, level of jackpot, name, ease of play. This is a game perhaps designed for people who haven't played a slot game before. Really help consumers who are either both ends of the spectrum, either end of the spectrum, easy, don't understand what you're doing, but I want to have some fun, all the way through to the big gamers. Okay, this is the one you want to play. This is a 100 million game. This is the odds on this are X, Y, Z. This is for sophisticated players. So understanding how consumers navigate and helping them give multiple navigation routes to games. And then finally, supporting the idea that they're on the site, on your website, by incorporating contextual help where they've got the problem, and support, including through registration. A lot of the time, again, this gets stopped and you just get a plain registration form in the boxes on the pages for registration. Even though they've started the registration process, it doesn't mean they're going to finish it. So you really need to understand, again, what the breakpoints in the journey are all the way through, and make sure that even the registration form has help and say FAQ all the way through. So, as I say, what you've just seen here was a very small snapshot of everything that we've got. We have hundreds of, I say, data points on each of these markets. You read just for a high-level industry overview here. Obviously, subscribing clients get access to the full research, tailored analysis at a very micro level. We can tell you which pages consumers went to, where they clicked, exactly the pain they had at each page, obviously historical data, but also insight activation workshops is where we get to that really the actionable insight. Much more extensive versions of the kind of thing you've heard today, where we step through the journey, best practice, what you can actually do about plugging those gaps, but also additional advisory hours. Perhaps there's some wireframes you'd like us to look at, things like that. So hopefully over the last 45 minutes or so, I've given you an interesting insight into the kind of data that we have about casino gaming in the UK. I'm Rebecca Jennings. I'm Principal Client Advisor here at Global Reviews. If you have any questions, please do get in contact with me. I'm rebecca.jennings@globalreviews.com. That's rebecca.jennings@globalreviews.com. Or get in touch with us. Generally, very happy to talk to anybody about the research today or about other things that we can help you with. So it just remains me to say thank you very much for your attention this morning. And I hope it was interesting. And as I say, if anybody has any questions, please do let me know. Thank you very much.